I also want to mention we weren't able to make the stop due to the size of our bus, but I do want to give a shout out to another place around here, the South Central Farm. That story is a very important story to tell. There's a link, and on the presentation, y'all look, I put a link to different resources that on all this stuff that we've been talking about that y'all can look at. There's pictures too, right? So the South Central Farm was housed about a mile east of here on this massive plain lot. It was like 16 acres, right? 44 acres, I'm sorry. And it was the largest urban farm in the country at the time, right? This is in the early 2000s. The history of it was there was a plan to create a trash incinerator on that land. The community organized to stop, right? Because nobody wanted a trash incinerator in their neighborhood, right? Based on that victory, people organized to use that land for something more purposeful for the community. Now, our community is a food desert. What's called the food desert, right? Not a lot of options for fresh produce, right? So the way they try to address that was literally building a farm in the middle of the neighborhood, right? This major farm had like people from the neighborhood got a plot to grow food, right? And they shared that food, right? And they grew it organically, right? With love and care, right? There was trees and stuff in that place. That place existed from 94 to 2006, right? 7, sorry, right? Now, I think the most impactful part of this story, right, is what happened at the end, right? Now, the city ultimately was sued by a private developer named David Horowitz, Ralph Horowitz, sorry, to take that land back, right? They wanted to develop it because they saw more value of it, right? He was not open to negotiating with the people there because they had the money to buy it from him, but he didn't. Right, they raised the money. So they raised the money to buy the land, right? They organized, right? In a real short amount of time, but he refused, right? And right. It culminated with one of the saddest days for me, at least that I lived through in this community, right? Because people got arrested for this, right? People were trying to stop the closure of the farm by any means necessary. Ultimately, the police arrested folks who removed them, and he literally bulldozed the food. That shit was so sad, bro. Like bulldozed trees, bulldozed plants, and left that shit vacant for years after that, right? Now there's a development there, right? They have a factory or some crap, right? Yeah, but you know, that day, a lot of us here were there at that moment, right? Like, can remember vividly, right? Like, it was such a heartbreaking thing to see, right? Like, families crying because, you know, their livelihoods, right? Stuff that they worked, grew from the earth, were being destroyed just out of spite, honestly, right? And like, you know, another example of, you know, you guys we value money over you, right? And you know, fortunately, like, the organizers of the such a farm used that resources. Now they have property out in Fresno. Yeah. Same. Yeah. Yeah, que vea, sí. Word. You know what I mean? And so these battles are about, I mean, these are land use battles, right? Like, how is property going to be used in our community, and by who, and for whose benefit, right? And you know, there's a lot of time. I mean, now equity is thrown as an important word of how to deal with these issues, right? Or rectify these issues. Personally, I feel like the language of equity is something that's been co-opted, right? Not everybody says equity because it's sexy, right? I think honestly what we need to start talking about for our community is really reparations, right? Like, all these injustices our generations of our community has lived through has not been rectified, right? That no one has been held accountable for these actions, right? For the benefits it did on our backs and on our blood, right? And you know, there needs to be that reckoning, right? And it's only going to happen if we demand it, right? Nothing, as you can see from our history of being in this community, nothing's ever given to us, right? We got to demand. We got to take what we need for our next generation to live better, right? And so hopefully this story. I mean, there's so much more we could talk about. I mean, we could do this story all day, really, if we wanted to, right? But you know, I see. Hopefully, this is a snapshot, right, of knowing like a little bit about the background of our amazing community, right? South Central is a reason people love being from here, right? It's a reason folks have that pride and that love, right? Regardless of all the stuff folks overcome, right? Because it's the people that make this community, right? It's these stories, it's this culture, this art that we value, right? You know, think about the good stuff we found on the drive, right? The amazing art, you know, the amazing food, right? I'm hungry too, believe me. Like seeing them pupusas and all that, like was looking bomb, right? But you know, that's South Central, right? That's how we get down out here, right? And that's what makes us who we are. But yeah, we're on our way back to Mercado de la Paloma. Hopefully, folks enjoyed this. And yeah, we'll see you in the next class next week. All right.